The Boys is an absolute masterpiece, and I have no problem saying that. I feel comfortable saying that this show is by far the best superhero show on right now. It is one of the best shows on right now, period. And I absolutely adore it, and I'm going to tell you why. So, The Boys has just wrapped up its 3rd season. Season 3, it's done. It's over. All of it done until season 4. And I just said it. I'm going to say it again. I love this show. I think it is miles ahead of pretty much every other superhero show on right now. And that's saying something, because there's a lot of good superhero shows right now. You know, Doom Patrol's very good. Umbrella Academy is very fun. Peacemaker was pretty good. And I genuinely believe The Boys is miles ahead of all of those. All of them. So, season 1 of The Boys came out, and it was a hit. Everybody loved it. And I watched it, and I thought it was awesome. I thought it was great. And it's just, I mean, it's not much. There's not much to say about season 1. It's a great commentary on not just like superhero movies, but Hollywood in general, celebrity culture. You know, how we look up to people that we barely know. And it was also a very well told story with many great characters. And I adored season 1. I think season 1 is pretty amazing. I've seen it a lot of times. Season 2, I'm not gonna lie, it was a bit of a step down in quality. It was still great, but it wasn't as good as season 1. Season 2, I'd probably give a 7. I think season 2 has some very strong episodes. I think episode 6 and the finale are both very good. The first 3 episodes are also very fun, but there are some parts, there are long stretches of season 2 where it does drag a little, and it feels like the show is just sort of like taking its time and not really doing anything. And it's just kind of really just like, let's see what parody we can do this week. It wasn't bad. It was still a very good season. I just wish that the show, I don't know. I wish season 2 had more, like, just more stakes. Because it feels like by the end of it, not a lot had happened. And that's not always a bad thing, but I think in the case of season 2, I felt like there was so much more story progression in the last 3 episodes of season 1 than in the last 3 episodes of season 2. By the end of season 2, the status quo really hasn't changed much. So that was my biggest issue with it, was that there wasn't a lot of plot progression. It felt like a lot of just kind of dicking around. But season 2 it was still great. Stormfront was a horrible person who I wanted to see die, and Homelander was still great as usual. And now we get to season 3 of The Boys, which just wrapped up, and I think it's pretty much a perfect season. I really don't have any complaints with it. The Boys is surprisingly a very, very, very big show. It's almost on the level of Game of Thrones and Stranger Things. They have so many characters and so many storylines, but it never feels like there's too much. You never feel like, oh Jesus, like there's way too much going on. I can't keep up. Every character feels like they get enough to do. You never feel like a character is being pushed to the back. Let's start from the beginning. Season 3 introduces a new character named Soldier Boy, who was in the comics. By the way, just to get it out of the way right now, I have read the Boys comics. I don't really like them. I don't think they're the worst thing ever. I just think they're kind of not very good. The show is just a much better story than the comics is. The comics, none of the characters are as interesting. Starlight's assault in the comics is almost like a joke. It's almost like a really darkly humorous scene. And that's not like, it just feels distasteful and edgelordy. I mean, the comic has some good stuff in it. Like, I thought Tech Knight was a pretty funny character, but other than that, you know, not much. So, season 3 of The Boys has a lot of stuff going on, but let's get into who everybody talks about is the main character of the show. I mean, he practically is at this point. Homelander. Homelander is the best character on this show, and he is one of the best, genuinely, by the end of the show, he could go down as one of the best villains of all time. He could honestly be up there with characters like the Joker and Darth Vader. I genuinely believe that Homelander is one of the greatest. If the show really keeps this momentum going, Homelander could honestly be regarded as one of the best villains ever. Like, period. One of the best villains. There is literally... Homelander is... This is why I don't like the show Invincible. I don't like it. I've told all my friends this probably too many times. I don't like Invincible. I think it kind of sucks. And I'm like the only person on the planet to think this. But Homelander is like basically to me a 10 times more interesting version of Omni-Man, because Omni-Man is just like it would take too much to get into right now, but I think a lot of the writing in Invincible as a whole, but also Omni-Man, is just very surface level, and like a 14-year-old wrote it. But Homelander is a very, very complex character, and he is terrifying, but he's also hilarious. Like, he has a lot of hilarious moments, but sometimes you're laughing nervously. Like, you're laughing, but you're like, is he gonna fucking kill someone right now? The one thing I like about The Boys is that even though they really don't make a habit out of killing main characters off a lot, something like Walking Dead or Game of Thrones where they kill characters left and right, The Boys doesn't do that, but at the same time, you still feel like anybody's fair game. There are a few characters where you're like, they'll probably be fine. But The Boys does a good job at making you feel like nobody is safe. At any moment, any one of these characters could die. I mentioned Soldier Boy. I went off on a tangent, but Soldier Boy was a great character in this season. I'm gonna get into spoilers. Fuck it. Spoiler time. So Soldier Boy is played by Jensen Ackles, who was in Supernatural, which I've never seen. Apparently it's good. 15 seasons, so someone must have watched it. But anyways, Jensen Ackles plays Soldier Boy, and he is a great character because he is realistically what Captain America would have been like if he really did get out of that ice. Like, he sees gay people walking down the street, and he's like, the fuck is that? And he's really sexist, and he says a lot of outdated shit. Like, he's just such a horrible person, you know? But he's not like just like people like before the show came out. They said he was Homelander before Homelander, but I'm glad they didn't just make him the same character. He's a lot different than Homelander. And once he and Homelander meet, even after it's revealed that, surprise, Soldier Boy is Homelander's father, Soldier Boy still looks at Homelander and is like, "You are a punk bitch." And at least Homelander looks at his kid Ryan and loves him and genuinely cares for him. Even if he's a shitty father, at the very least he cares for him. Soldier Boy looks at Homelander and says, "You are a punk bitch," and then tries to beat the shit out of him. So yeah, Soldier Boy was great. Let's go through every character. Fuck it. Let's go from the minor characters to the main characters, so we have some build-up. Starting off with the 7, we have A-Train in the Deep. The Deep starts out the show as just a despicable, horrible dude, and you just want to see this guy just get his comeuppance. And the rest of the show is basically just treating him like an idiot, because that's what he is. The Deep is a total incompetent fool, and the entire show is just him just sucking at life. And I love that. The Deep is an absolutely pathetic person. He's a horrible dude. You know, in season 1, at the end of the season, there was, I don't want to say redemption because what he did was irredeemable, but at the same time, they go deeper into his character. But by the end, and then in season 2, he really has nothing to do with the main plot. He has this own little Scientology plot going on. But by the end of season 3, you're like, no, this guy has to go. He is a horrible dude. I mean, he's irredeemable. Like, he's just a horrible character. I want to see him die. And the same thing with A-Train. I hate A-Train and the Deep. I hate everyone in the 7, but A-Train, I don't know. He ran through Huey's girlfriend, and then he's like, "Man, I ran through a bitch, and one of her teeth went through my throat." I'm like, "You asshole!" Like, what the fuck? And yeah, in this season, him telling Homelander that Supersonic was working with them to take down Homelander. What a bitch move. Fuck A-Train. That just shows how, like, even though you don't see it, he is almost as pathetic as the Deep. And But I gotta say, that scene with his brother at the end was pretty sad, because his brother trained him, and now his brother hates him, but he deserves it. I thought he died when he talked about when he killed Blue Hawk. I thought he died. I thought he collapsed and died, but it was a good twist that he's still alive, and he now has Blue Hawk's heart inside him. Which is a shitty situation, but hey, at least he can run now. Maeve. Maeve, I've always felt really bad for. She's no saint. She's definitely no saint. But I just felt like her... She probably did start out like Starlight. She probably did want to be a hero. But over time, she just got so disillusioned and burnt out that she became this husk of a person. And it's really sad to watch. You just look at her and you just see this broken person. And I thought she died when she killed Soldier Boy, but I'm glad they kept her alive. Normally when they do something like that, I'd be like, oh, you didn't have the guts to kill off the character. But for Maeve, I feel like it would have been cheap to just kill her off like that. And I'm glad she survived. And it wouldn't have even made sense because Kimiko survived a blast from Soldier Boy, so why wouldn't Maeve? I was fine with her surviving. Glad she got to be with Elena. And it's a nice ending for her. Then we got Black Noir. Black Noir was an interesting case in the first two seasons. In the first season, he didn't really do much. He was just kind of there. And then in season 2, you see him a little more in the action. He fights Butcher in that one episode. He fights Starlight in that one episode. And in season 3, he captures Maeve after Maeve gives him that allergic reaction. And they go deep into Black Noir's backstory in this season. And it was very interesting to see. And it was very interesting to see more of his relationship with Homelander. They went into it more in the animated show, The Boys Diabolical, which I also watched. And that was, some were good, some were kind of alright. It was fine. But anyways, they go into Black Noir's relationship with Homelander, and I really thought, I kind of saw it coming that Homelander would kill him, but it was still sad to see, because Black Noir, that guy's crazy. And the way they showed his backstory was very, 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 very creative. Really cool. Really like that scene, because even though it's a bunch of animated cartoon animals, it still doesn't take away from the weight of the situation. And it's amazing that they were, at least not for me. Maybe for other people it did, but for me, I thought it worked great. Who else? We already talked about Homelander. The best character on the show, one of the best villains ever. He is he's terrifying. You feel at any moment he will snap and kill somebody. He is just so scary. And we get to who is in the 7, but at the end of this episode is a full-fledged member of the Boys, Starlight, who is probably my second favorite character in the show. I love Starlight. I think she is a really great character. You know, she is probably morally the best person in the show, but that doesn't mean she's perfect. She's still flawed, you know. I love how in season 3 she is just being put through hell. She is going through the worst of it, and I felt so bad for her, but she was so strong throughout the whole season that you just can't help but root for her. You want her to succeed. There's some other characters. There's this other girl named Ashley, who is the CEO of Vought now, and her character is very... she's a horrible person, absolutely a horrible person. But man, I at the same time, I felt so bad for her. But at the same time, she did a lot of really heinous stuff this season. Like, you know, just really heinous stuff. But I found it interesting at the end. She saw Maeve survived and she deleted the footage. Made me wonder, why did she do that? Why did she let her go? I guess she cared about Maeve in some way. It's interesting. Alright, now let's get to the boys. You got Frenchie and Kimiko. Frenchie, that actor is really good. Like, he is low-key one of the best actors on the show. Frenchie's great. I love him. He's hilarious, but he's also, you know, kind of like Maeve. He's a very broken person. Kimiko was one of the best characters this season. I liked her in season 1 and 2. I thought she was neat. But in this season, she really gets a lot to do, and I really loved what they did with her. I think Kimiko's a great character. I mean, her arc where it's really sad when she wants her powers taken away. She wishes she never had them. But when she does lose them, she realizes, like, it wasn't the powers that made me who I am. It's just, I am who I am. And the powers aren't going to change that. And that's really sad and tragic. But she accepts it, you know? And it's just a really great arc. And I can't wait to see where she goes in the next season. I'm surprised Frenchie survived, honestly. I thought he was dead. I'm glad he survived, though. Mother's Milk. Mother's Milk in the first 2 seasons was my least favorite of the boys. He was not bad, but he was just kind of... It felt like it wasn't really him. It just felt like out of all of the boys, he felt like he got the least amount of screen time. But in this season, he became my favorite. Maybe besides... He and Kamiko were probably tied. But Mother's Milk in the season, Marvin was great. Kind of like Starlight. He's going through a lot, you know? And I found the stuff with his family really sad and interesting. You know, his daughter, he's divorced from, you know, his wife, and his daughter is sort of gravitating towards her new stepdad, who is the worst. Todd, the worst dude ever, you know. Fucking hate Todd. And, yeah, I just felt, you know, Marvin was a great character this season. And the actor really, Laz Alonso, he really did a great job. You know, all the actors really bring their A game into the show. You can tell all the actors love the show and are passionate about it, because there's not a single weak link. Every single actor is freaking killing it in this show. I forgot to mention this one woman named Victoria Newman, and this season felt like, with her character, I felt like this season was basically build up for her in the next season in terms of what they did with her. Like, everything they did with her was like, okay, she'll be a big deal in season 4. For right now, they're just setting everything up with her, which is cool. I like the twist in season 2 that she was the one that was blowing up everybody's heads. Good stuff. That was a great scene, too, when all the heads explode and you're just like, what the fuck? So next we got Huey. Huey is... Well, he's a great character, first off, but in this season, I was really conflicted on how I feel about him. Because on one hand, I'm like, Huey, you are being a total prick. I mean, they're telling you not to take this temp V shit, and you're still doing it. But at the same time, he witnessed his girlfriend die brutally right in front of him. So, I can't blame him for wanting to feel... Like, people, like, I saw the creator of the show, he tweeted, like, Huey just wants to feel macho, and he's doing it, you know, to protect someone who doesn't want to be protected. And I'm like, yeah, and that is a shitty reason to take it, but at the same time... I don't blame him for wanting to feel strong, because he feels responsible for a lot of death, including his girlfriend Robin, you know. But, you know, the cons outweigh the pros here. He shouldn't have taken the temp V. You know, I don't know. Huey, I had mixed feelings towards him this season. I still love him. I still think he's great. Love Jack Quaid. Thought he was great in Scream. Thought he was great in this. Butcher. I fucking hate Butcher now. I hate that dick. He is just the worst now. He is just the worst. I mean... God. Mother's Milk is his best friend. His best friend. And he was still willing to use the guy who killed Mother's Milk family just to satisfy Butcher's own personal rage, his vendetta. Butcher doesn't want to kill Homelander because that would make the world a better place. Butcher just wants to kill Homelander because he hates him. Because he thinks he wronged him, which he did, but... Yeah, Butcher's the worst. And he only betrays Soldier Boy once Soldier Boy hurts someone close to him. It really shows how selfish he is. Alright. But Butcher's... Karl Urban. I still love Karl Urban. I still think he kills it as this character. Alright, now. Now. Let's talk about some of the episodes. The best episodes of the season were the last 3. Now, Herogasm, I remember the creators of the show were really hyping it up like, this is gonna be the most fucked up shit you have ever seen. And then you watch it and you're like, oh, that was it? It wasn't that bad. I mean, by the boys' standards, it was pretty tame. I was expecting, like, actual pornography. But it really wasn't that bad. I mean, it was just a bunch of naked people, nothing too crazy. The craziest scene in the show is a tie between the season 1 death where Popclaw kills a man by doing something that I don't want to say here. Or in season 3 in episode 1 when that guy goes inside that other guy through a place where I didn't even think. That's never been something I've thought about before. But now I have, because I've seen the show, and yeah. That was pretty insane. That was an insane way to start the season. The Boys is the Boys, you know. At this point, you're kind of used to it. I feel like it's not really an issue, but the violence and the sex and all that, it's not as shocking anymore, I guess because you're used to it, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, that's just what the show is, you know what I mean? But it is something interesting to know. Like, all the stuff that happens in season 3 that's supposed to make you go, oh my god. Maybe it does for some people, but for me, I'm just kind of like, yeah, that's the typical stuff from the Boys. Anyways, A Hero-gasm was a great episode, though. Great episode. There was so much stuff that happened. You know, Marvin and Starlight's relationship was really cool. It's not... Whoa, sorry. It's not something you'd expect, but it's really... I really love their friendship. It's really awesome. And the fight between Soldier Boy, Homelander, and Butcher is great. And you think, oh man, that's the peak of the action in the season. Hell no, it doesn't even come close to the fight at the end, or not at the end, but in episode 8. It is insane. Butcher, Maeve, and Soldier Boy are all here. And they're here and they're confronting Homelander, who killed Black Noir earlier. I saw it coming, but still, sad scene. Sad scene. Rest in peace, Black Noir. He was a good dude. Not really, actually. He was a piece of shit. But, rest in peace. Soldier Boy, Maeve, and Butcher, they confront Homelander. They're like, we got you, fucker. And Soldier Boy's like, you're my son, but I don't like you. You're a disappointment. And Homelander's like, what the fuck, man? But hey, guess what? I have Ryan, who is my kid. What are you going to do about it now? And Butcher's like, oh shit. Because Butcher abandoned Ryan earlier in the season. It was for Ryan's safety, but still, he abandoned him. So now Ryan, really, all he has is Homelander. You know, Homelander's the only person who knows how powerful he is, and the only person he can relate to. And as sad as it is, it's the only person he can relate to. And, yeah, so they all start fighting, and then Soldier Boy hits Ryan across the room, and you're like, oh shit. Butcher and Soldier Boy start fighting. They start going at it. And then Homelander and Maeve start going at it. It's just... And at this point, I thought Maeve was going to die. Because in the Boys comics, Maeve tried to kill Homelander. Also, in that comic, Maeve threw a guy at Homelander. So, Maeve was pretty evil in the comics. But anyways, it was Maeve and Homelander, and they're beating the shit out of each other. And then, as Butcher and Soldier Boy are fighting, it's going, and then Starlight and Mother's Milk show up. And you're like, oh my god, this is insane. It is a battle for the ages. And then Kimiko and Frenchie are in a lab, and they're working on something to incapacitate Soldier Boy. It is crazy. It is violent. The fight scene is awesome. The best fight scene in the show, bar none. It's incredible. I love that scene where Starlight powers up. It's badass, even though it doesn't really amount to much. You just kind of knock Soldier Boy over for a few seconds. But then Soldier Boy's like, ah, fuck this. And he starts to explode. He starts to fucking power up, and he's fucking... And Maeve's like, I guess I gotta do this shit. She flies Soldier Boy out of the building, and it explodes. And you're like, oh, fuck, Maeve's dead. Rest in peace. But then, I already mentioned it earlier, but she's still alive, and she gets to be with Elena on the farm. That's nice. That's a wholesome ending. So, also, there's a scene earlier where Homelander is having a conversation with Ashley, the Deep, and A-Train. Also, one thing I like about this show is that I love how the superheroes, like their real names, besides Starlight, like whose real name is Annie, I love how their real names, like, literally don't matter. Like every other superhero, their secret identity and their superhero name. Peter Parker is Peter Parker. Spider-Man is just the alter ego. For most of these superheroes, their superhero brand is who they are. A-Train is A-Train. The Deep is the Deep. Homelander, they just say it offhand, like, yeah, his real name is John. Who cares? Homelander is who he is, and I love that. I think in a weird way it adds some more complexity to them. That they just are. It's interesting. But anyways, so like I said, there's a scene where Homelander's having a conversation with the Deep, A-Train, and Ashley, and it is so intense. It's so scary. I love the line where Homelander's like, remember, I don't need any of you. I killed Black Noir, who was worth more to me than all of you. So y'all are treading on some thin, thin ice. And you're just like, these guys are fucked. Guarantee you, Homelander's probably going to kill all of them next season. So, yeah. Fight's over. Ryan goes with Homelander, which is really sad. Everybody's sad. Butcher has about maybe 18 months to live. The show, 100% guaranteed, it will end with Butcher dying. Just like in the comics. Butcher will die. Yeah. And then, Victoria Newman is running, she's going to be VP, she's running for Vice President, and Homelander's, his supporters, who are basically Trump supporters, it's interesting, you know, like, I love Todd's line where he's like, where Marvin is like, they're lying to you, and you can literally show them proof, like, they are literally shown proof from Starlight that Homelander is a hateful piece of shit, and they still don't believe it. They're like, no, it's doctored, it's fake. And that happens in real life. There's you know, evidence of Donald Trump and so many other politicians being a piece of shit. But their supporters are like, nah, that's fake. That's made by the liberal fucking masses. And you're like, you fucking idiots. But anyways. Yeah, so I found the last scene of season 3 to be absolutely haunting. Homelander shows up in front of all of his supporters. And they're all cheering him. And this is what Homelander wants. This is what he lives for. Is for people to love him. That's all Homelander wants, is for people to love him. And he has that. And they're all cheering him for who he is. And Homelander sees someone throw something at Ryan. A Starlight supporter. And Homelander says, fuck this. And he lasers the guy. He kills the guy. In front of everybody. He kills the guy. There's a scene in season 2 where he kills the whole crowd. He dreams about doing it. But he doesn't. He tells Maeve later in season 2, he says, if you release that footage revealing that I am who I am, I will destroy everything and everyone. And Maeve says, alright, then you won't have anyone that loves you. What are you gonna do then? And when he lasers the guy, at first you think, oh no, Homelander has finally snapped. This is what we've been waiting for. Is Homelander to finally snap. For him to say, what am I doing? I'm Homelander. I'm unstoppable. And he finally did it. He lasered the guy. And he didn't think twice about it. And for a second you think, oh shit, Homelander's reputation is ruined. Like, now everybody knows who he is. But just as you're thinking that piece of shit Todd, who I hate, he starts clapping. And he says, yeah, woo! What the fuck does Marvin's ex-wife see in him? But anyways, he's like, yeah, fuck that guy. Starlight supporting liberal, fuck him. And then everybody else starts cheering. They all go, and they cheer Homelander for who he is, for murdering that man. And Homelander is peak Homelander now. Everybody who's been watching the show has been saying, eventually Homelander's going to snap. Eventually Homelander's not going to care what people think anymore, and he's going to snap. Well, what if he snaps, and then people love him for it? People love him for the real him, not the brand that Vought puts out. That's a scary thought. And now it's real. Everybody, not everybody, but the people who love Homelander and know who Homelander really is behind closed doors, he's not hiding anymore. They love him for it. That's pretty scary. I mean, that's just a scary thought. And it happens in the real world. And I have no idea where the next season is going to go. I don't know how long this show's going to last. Maybe next season is the last season. Who knows? But there's a way to end this. And I don't think it's a happy one. And to make matters even worse, the camera pans to Ryan. And you think Ryan's going to be disgusted. he's gonna be like, my dad is a horrible, evil person. But then he starts smiling. And then that's when you realize, holy shit. Holy shit. Ryan is happy about this. He could be just as bad, if not worse, than Homelander. And he might be even more powerful. I mean, Homelander lasered Stormfront, and she liked it. Ryan lasered Stormfront, and then look what happened to her. She turned into a meatball. I mean, it's a pretty scary thought. I love the way this season ends. It ends on a horribly dour note of just, holy shit, Homelander is at the top now. There's nowhere else for him to go. Because he just showed real Homelander in front of everybody. Homelander season 1 would never do that. But now he's done it, and it doesn't matter. People still love him. There probably will be people that say Homelander's a murderous piece of shit. But that doesn't matter, because Homelander has the people who love him. And that's all he needs. And he has Ryan, his son. It's just, I don't know. I really don't know. Yeah. The Boys is an absolute masterpiece of a show, I think. This season, I'm just going to say it. You know, season 1 and 2, I wouldn't do this, but season 3 of The Boys, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. I really don't have that many big complaints with this season. I thought it was pretty perfect. I mean, every episode was just amazing. It had so much going on. Episode 4 of this season felt like a series finale with how much stuff happened in it. This is a packed show with a lot of meat, and that's why I love it. There's not a lot of fluff. Season 2 had a lot of fluff, but this season it just felt like they're going hard. And I love it for it. Yeah. And Soldier Boy was put back on ice, so he'll probably come back. He's not dead. Stormfront is dead, so good. She was a bitch. Man. The Boys is a very intense show. Like, every episode I watch it with knots in my stomach, and my heart's pounding, and I'm like literally, I spent like half of the finale like this. Like that. And the last scene of the show gave me chills. It was haunting. It was a very dour and sad and dark note to leave off on. But on the bright side, Starlight's a member of The Boys, and Kimiko and Frenchie are happy together. Also, that dance scene, people were complaining about it. If you were complaining about that dance scene, you just hate fun. That was a good ass scene. I love The Boys. My favorite show. I need that fourth